Hello friends, welcome back to Program with Akshay, and this is the continuation of the masterclass for AWS CDK. In the previous part, we have seen the environment setup where we have installed Node.js, where we have installed AWS CLI, where we have set up the profile using AIM AWS services, where we have installed AWS code and we have installed AWS CDK. I will provide a link in the description. You can refer the previous part of environment setup. In this part, we are going to see the practical implementation. We are going to see the sample world or the sample project of Hello World, where we are going to program with Node.js and Visual Studio Code. So let's start. So to start with our first application, Hello World, I have created a folder, first CDK program with Hello World, and I've opened the folder on Visual Studio Code. And inside that, I will fire up a new terminal. And once I fire up a new terminal, the first command, we are going to bootstrap our project, our CDK project. So to bootstrap our CDK project, the command is CDK init app hyphen language. So in this case, our language is TypeScript. Okay, so this will bootstrap the project. This will install all the node dependencies. This will install all the CDK files. It will install all the package.json and the bin and the libraries. So if you see the steps, it is installing the node packages npm install. So the node folders, node modules folder are getting installed. So this will bootstrap our application, and our application is ready, and we can start our practical implementation of our first Hello World example. As you can see, this is all done. So let's start the next step. So once you do this, if you see, there are useful commands like npm run build to compile the TypeScript to JS. Then we have something called as run watch to watch for our changes and compile those. Then we have something called as CDK deploy. So this will automatically, the stack which you have created will deploy to our AWS account and region. Then CDK diff is nothing but the difference to where we are comparing the current stack and the previous stack. And synthesize, basically the synthesize is nothing but where we emit all our changes to CloudFormation template, and the CloudFormation template does the rest. So these are the useful commands which we are going to use. We will see these steps one by one. And the command to initialize or to bootstrap our project is CDK int. CDK int is nothing but where we are initializing our AWS CDK, where inside the app folder and language is nothing but TypeScript. So once everything is done, let's move to our left hand side section where we are having various folders like bin, lib, and test, and there are various TypeScript file. We will have a look one by one. The main thing which we are going to look here is inside the lib folder we have something called as CDK stack, and inside the CDK there is a sample code provided by our CDK where we are where we are creating queues, SQS queues, and this with the help of this our queues will get created. If you uncomment this code and if you try to deploy this code, and if you import this CD SQS library from the AWS CDK lib, then the CloudFormation, with the help of CloudFormation, our SQS queue will get deployed. Okay, so I'm going to delete this code. We don't require this right now. And once we delete that code, we will create a new folder inside our this first CDK program Hello World, and I will name it as something called as lambdas. So to create a new folder inside this, we have to create a new folder, and I will name it as lambdas. And inside the lambdas, we will have a new file and say it as hello world.js. So once you create a new file, hello world.js, we are going to create a handler, and inside the handler which will return hello world. So this is nothing but a simpler Lambda function, which the Lambda function which has export. And what we are going to export? So we are going to export handlers which has an asynchronous and which has event and a context, and it will return what it is going to return. It will return a hello world. So it will return hello world. So this is a simple Lambda function where we are exporting the handler, and it has an asynchronous function, and inside the asynchronous function it has an event and a context, and inside that we are returning a simple hello world or hello world CDK. So once our hello world.js has been created, now we are going to import this hello world.js in our stack. Okay, so let's try to delete this sample code, and let's try to import function from AWS CDK lib slash AWS Lambda. Okay, and now we are going to create a variable const handler is equal to new function, where we are going to pass the parameter as this. Why this? Because we are going to pass this new function in this CDK stack. So this, and inside this we will name it as hello hyphen world hyphen CDK, and it has some properties. Say it as runtime. So we have runtime environment like .NET, Java, Node.js, the Go, and so on and so forth. So we are using Node, and then we can provide memory size. This is optional. We will specify a memory size of 512 MB, and then we are going to specify the handler name. Say it as handler, and inside the handler we have something called as hello world. So our handler will be hello world dot handler, and then we are going to specify the path of this hello world.js file. Okay, so basically we have created some folder called as lambda folder, and inside the lambda folder we have created a handler. Okay, now to call the handler inside our stack, we need to specify the path from where exactly it is going to take that handler, and where how it is going to execute that handler. So to execute the handler, we have a something property called as code, and we have code dot from asset. Let's put a colon here. We are missing a colon here. Dot from asset, and inside the asset we will pass the directory name and the virtual path folder name. Okay, now we have to join this directory name and the virtual path folder name. So to do that, we have to pass the property something called as join, and inside the join we have something called as directory name, and we will pass the folder name. Okay, lambdas, and that's about it. And we will import a library where we are going to update the imports, where we have updated the imports and we have imported the code. Okay, where we code alias representative class, and this will automatically join the lambdas and the directory name here. So we are getting an error here from asset. Let's try to delete it, and that's from asset, and that's it. We are done. We have done the coding, and we have created the hello world AWS CDK stack, our first project. Now the second step, or the next step, is basically we are going to deploy this application on our AWS account. So the next step is we are going to bootstrap our CDK project. So to bootstrap, the command is CDK bootstrap. If you are getting any node error, if you are not able to compile the project, don't worry. Make sure you first compile the project, and if you are getting some node dependencies, make sure you install the node dependencies. So once you run this command CDK bootstrap, it is basically bootstrapping your CDK project. Okay, and once the commands get executed, if you see the bootstrapping environment for this is the account number and this is the region. So which means the S3 bucket, the lambdas, and the CloudFormation templates are going to get created in this account. Okay, and it is going to execute the policy ARN AWS IAM policy as administrative access, and it is having a policy called as CloudFormation execution policies that are customizable. Okay, so I've already run the CDK Bootstrap, so it is saying there are no changes. After running this command, you can see that there is a folder called as CDK out, and inside the CDK out we have something called as manifest.json, sample assets.json, and tree.json. These files are basically going to deploy on our AWS account. Okay, so the next step is basically we are going to synthesize our AWS project. This is our hello world project. So to synthesize the project, the command is cdk synth. So this will nothing but will synthesize, and it will create a CloudFormation template. So whatever the code which we have created, that which we have written, like that we have created a variable, and inside the variable we have created a function. We have passed the runtime variable. We have created the property called as memory size, the handler name, and the code. So those are will get created in the CloudFormation template. It will have an execution policy, an execution role, and it will create an S3 bucket, and inside the S3 bucket it will all your CDK project will reside inside the S3 bucket. So let's try to execute this command, and after executing the command, you can see it generates a series of CloudFormation steps. So let's wait for a minute. Now I have executed the CDK command. If you see, it has created the steps of CloudFormation, where we have created like role, the IAM role, the deployment role, the STS role, and if you can see the size, the handler name, we have a handler name called as hello world.handler. So we have something called as hello world.handler, which has memory size properties called as memory size, runtime environment. So this is a very good feature provided by AWS, where we can write the command called as AWS Synth, and it will get converted into AWS CloudFormation steps, and this CloudFormation steps will get deployed on our AWS account, and those lambdas and those services will get created. So to get the services created, we have a command called as CDK deploy. So this will deploy all our whole code into our AWS account. So if you are running this command for the first time, it will ask you for a prompt whether do you want to execute yes or no. So type it yes, and if yes, then it will get created. Okay, so yes, and this will creating these are the stacks are getting created. So let's wait for a minute, and it has IAM statement changes like hello hyphen lambda service.arn, and these are the resources, and these are the stacks are getting initiated, where we are creating the CloudFormation template, where we are creating the lambdas, we are creating the IAM roles to execute the lambda. So these are various steps are getting created. So let's wait for a minute. Now our CDK deploy command is been executed. The total estimated time was taken was 48 seconds. Now it has created the CloudFormation templates. Now to check our stack, whether the stack has been created or not, go to your AWS console. So here is my AWS console, and inside the AWS console, go to CloudFormation service, and let's check the stack. And yes, our stack is being created, and our stack name is CDK toolkit. And if you click on the stack and if you check the events, these are the events which are being in progress. Some are been created, like the CDK toolkit deployment action role, and so on and so forth. Now if you check the resources, so we have something called as resources like file publishing rule. These are something like AWS IAM policy. So these are the types, and these are the logical ID, and this is the physical ID. And let's check the status where something is failed or not. So everything is being completed. Just make sure that you are in proper region. So my region right now is AP South 1. So once you try to deploy the CloudFormation template, make sure you are in the proper region. Now let's check the lambda. So to go to lambda function, we have something called as lambda. So once you go to a lambda function, we have something called as stack, and inside the stack we have something called as function, and inside the function we have created the lambda function with the help of CDK deploy. We have something called as code, and we have something have hello world.js. So this is our code, hello world.js. Yeah, exports.handler, which is returning an async event and returning hello. And let's try to test it. Let's create a new event and name any event, and it will have, let's test it, execution. Yeah, and we are able to return hello world. So we have successfully completed our hello world application, and if you see, it has parameters like 512 MB, where we have specified the property as 512 size, the duration it took to execute, the execution time, and it has the max memory, and so on and so forth. Okay, so basically we have created all the sample hello world application with the help of AWS CDK. Okay, now if you see it has created an S3 bucket also. If you go to an S3, and if you see an S3 bucket, and inside S3 Amazon S3 services, we have something called as buckets, and inside buckets it has created a new bucket like CDK hyphen the in number assets and AP South 1 region. And if you check, it has created the chain sets, like it has created the deployment files in the type of zip file, and it has all our applications are getting stored, or applications we are compiling and deploying are getting stored in our S3 bucket. So these are the ways where we can deploy our application with the help of AWS CDK. And we have completed our first application in AWS CDK, like Hello World or Sample Hello World project. So thank you friends for watching today's video. In the upcoming videos, we are going to deep dive with very key concepts like construct, what is level of construct libraries, and project file structure, and like we are going to see the CDK important commands and how to set the environment variables, and we are going to see the Lambda function permissions and buckets. There are various topics which we are going to explore in this masterclass. So stay tuned, happy learning, have a great day.